Barbados' entire west coast has been destroyed, and it's relying on beaches to survive. 90% of the fishermen in Barbados have lost their livelihoods. 90%. And you know how difficult to get insurance for this fishermen. So the main selling point of Barbados, which is beaches, have been taken away in less than half an hour. And I look at the people in Carriacou and the circumstance and everything flat. You know? So these are the challenges that we face with. And so it's causing the cost of running the country to be higher. And this is why sometimes you will hear the government hasn't paid this person or the government owing that person. It is as a result of a compounding of challenges. Because you know, even after Maria, we didn't have the problem of paying people. Even after Maria, we didn't have the problem of paying people. We were paying people, even people who do not work, we were paying people. We were paying the salaries for private sector employees. Then you have COVID, then you have these geopolitical challenges where nobody is seeking to resolve the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, as if, well, everybody, the developer is okay with it, and let us send more arms, let us give more money. And St. Vincent doesn't need $2 billion now. Yes, they will welcome it, but can you give them 100 million? If the Prime Minister agreed over to get $100 million, he would do a lot of it. You know, a lot of it. So this is where it is. Now, issue of the hospital. We have examined the situation at the hospital. And I believe the issue of the hospital with regards to drugs and pharmaceutical supplies is more one of communication or the lack thereof. I'll give you a classic example. During the preparation of the Hurricane Beryl, there was a report from the Ministry of Health officials to me. Because I take my responsibilities, I went to, so they reported to me. And they said to me, Prime Minister, we do not have drug A, we don't have drug B, we don't have drug C. I said, well, how many you don't have? I mean, we don't have at all, or we're short, or we fall short of the threshold that's required, and so on. Tell me we don't have. So I said, okay, well, it's a Saturday. I said, let me end the meeting there. Go and check for me, and whatever you need, if you need it, I will find a way of fetching it, because I can't go into a hurricane without this, and report back to me on Sunday morning. Sunday morning, they reported to me at 11 o'clock Sunday morning to tell me they don't only have the drugs, but they have more than what they need. Because one officer did not take the time to communicate with the one who is dealing with the inventory. And just to say to you, Kyle, I have asked and I found out that we do have the hypertension medicine at the hospital. We do have.
At the hospital there?
Yeah. Yeah. And they sent to me the inventory was done. This is the inventory was done on the weekend. And so I believe that I may have to come back with my friend the Minister of Health so we can speak to the nation.
Yes.
And let the nation know the facts. Because while people will say that there are no drugs in Dominica, or we are short on this thing, we are dumping. We are dumping at Labas, at the solid waste landfill, hundreds of thousands
of expired drugs. Hundreds of thousands of dollars of expired drugs. What I know, and I've been advised, because I get involved in these things, people say I micromanage and so on, that's okay. But I believe that I want to know for myself. So I go where the information is. I'm not a protocol person. And I'm being told sometimes that to treat a particular ailment, there may be 3 or 5 or 4, 6, 7 different drugs to treat it. We may not have the one that the doctor prefers, but we may have 2 or 3 other options. But people don't take time to find out, to say, okay, let me find out which one we have and prescribe the one that we have. Because those persons who are hypertensive, you know, there's one drug that will affect you as a man, and there's a more expensive one that if you take it, then it can hold you up. No. I like to, you see, I like to speak from a textbook. I like to speak from, you understand what I'm saying? I like to speak from a textbook. And so, and even that drug, I remember some years ago, I told the Ministry of Health going to buy it because I was concerned that we were prescribing the one that affects you and people were not taking it. Right? And I said, look, no matter how expensive the other one is, let's buy some. And let's educate the man on this. Because if you tell a man in his 40s, my brother, he can't do nothing. And when you tell him you take that, it's going to be worse. You understand what I'm saying? So we're not saying that there are times you fall below the threshold or you're waiting for a shipment to come and maybe delayed, and then your supply may be delayed and you may be below the threshold and so forth. We're not saying that. And so what we have done, and we're doing in the Ministry of Health, is that we're restructuring the CMS. We bring additional staff, new positions, more staff, and we are also improving on the inventory system. So we brought in, because I want to know, when people criticize the government, no matter how outlandish criticism is, I take it seriously, no matter who criticizes the government. And so we brought in the OECS PPS, independently of us, to come and examine the situation for us. And so the issue of the dumping of drugs and so on, they're the ones who told me that in the document. And so they're saying that we're overbuying in a number of areas. You understand? So we did 100,000 or something, but we buy 300,000. And this thing has a shelf life. And when a drug expires today, my brother, you can't get it somewhere tomorrow. You understand? And so we owe some suppliers, and we have placed in the budget estimates that amount. And once the budget is passed, we'll amortize and pay everybody we owe. Every man jack. Understand? But just to say, remind the country, when it comes to health care, my brother, this government and myself as the Prime Minister of this country, we've always put it at the center of our economic and social development. Always. And the investment we have made, and I want Americans to be careful. Let us not create a situation where there is none. Because when we give impressions of something not working when it's really working, we run the risk of allowing people to have that in their psyche.
And they may not want to go and get health care. And the reality is, I have been to the hospital many times. Many times. And the extraordinary work that's been done at the hospital is amazing. You saw Danny Lugay, the former member of parliament, you know, member of parliament.
All fairness to be honest, this time, to say publicly that
Nika at the Dominica China Friendship Hospital. And there are so many positive stories, my brother, that if the doctors to stand up and to say the facts, you'll be amazed of the kind of things that doctors and nurses and ward aides and the whole hospital structure, the Ministry of Health are doing at this hospital. Amazing work. I'm not saying everything is perfect, but we cannot say that things are not better where healthcare is concerned now than it was 20 or 25 or 30 years ago in Dominica. We cannot say that. And when it comes to shortage of stuff, if we have to charter a plane to go and get the drugs, I'd rather trust me, we'll do it. Because we believe healthcare is important and so forth. So Carl, I will, Dr. Mark is there, so we can tell you which one you better take.
All right.
The better, Curtis, the better one, yeah. Yeah, the better one. The better man. There's a herb you can use to, I have some at my home, I can do some plants, you know? Okay, any other questions?
Good morning, Honorable Prime Minister. Jansen, hello, Cabaret FM.
Yes, sir.
So I have two items for you this morning, well, this afternoon. Given that Dominica has signed an MOU which doubles the price for our CBI program, how does that affect the program and the country's economy? And the second question is, Cabaret Marina has raised concern within the environmentalist community here in Dominica. So much so that a petition has been started to pose to the government to reconsider placing the marina on crucial land that serves as connection to our natural heritage and plays a hand in climate change mitigation, although on a small scale. What is your take on this?
Yeah, thank you very much. The issue of the memorandum of agreement that we signed with the other OECS countries, the CBI program, and subsequently our introduction of higher fees for citizenship program, I don't believe it will adversely affect our program. The reality is there's a demand out there, and I believe that those who have the means and who are bona fide applicants will continue to apply, and thereby we will end up hopefully will benefit more from the program and so forth. So I don't see it, I believe it will strengthen the integrity of our program. And we in Dominica, outside of the MOA, there are some other things that we're doing to continue to enhance the transparency, the integrity of our program, and of course the future sustainability of our program. And at some subsequent time, I will announce to the country some additional actions we're taking. The AG has drafted legislation and so forth for this. So I believe we're on the right track, and these are things that we need to do, and we have to continue to do. You know, in this system, you have to continue to assess and evaluate where the risks are, and to de-risk yourself, and to eliminate the risk as far as practically possible. And I think the MOA it will help us do that. And in addition to the MOA, some of the actions we've taken nationally here in Dominica will help us de-risk some aspect of the program and put the program in a much better footing to be able to stand the scrutiny, continue to stand the scrutiny of our independent arbiters. Okay, the issue of the Cabaret Marina location. The reality is, my brother, it is not me who said to put the marina there, you know. Long before I was born, there's always the plan to put in the marina there. Long before, I think it must be 1968. I was born in 1972. Nobody raised objection to the 1968 document. And every successive government attempted to build a marina there. As a matter of fact, in the Eugenia Charles days, on the other side, by the American Hotel, we gave the land to, ACAT, and ACAT wanted to cut part of Dominica completely off Dominica and create an island. So it is not a two-day thing. And if you go to look at document, I saw a document that Dr. Honeychurch presented some years ago, even along the foot of the Cabarets, they were recommended to put villas there. You know, villas. And the Lord gives us these things not to cause us to be poor, but to make responsible use of these things. And in every national park over the world, across the world, you have hotels and restaurants and theme parks in those national parks. So people benefit in job creation for this thing. So it's not a two-day thing. And so if people genuinely have a concern, then come to us. Say, Skerrit, look, I want to talk to you. When can I meet you to talk to you about our concerns about the marina? But when people go on the right to international organizations, and they don't have the, and if you want to us to know you right, you should copy us. They don't copy us. Then the people send a copy of the letter to me saying, we received this from Dominica objecting to the marina. You remember the United Workers' Party wrote to UNESCO and others when we were building the Kempinski Hotel and objected to this. And if you go to the Hansard, because you look like a bright fellow, if you go to the Hansard and you do the research at the Parliament, at the time that we went to Parliament to get the approval of the land, you will see what the opposition people said. And I believe Thompson from there may have been a senator back then. And the person leading the charge against this was Senator Baptiste. Read what they said against the marina, against the hotel. The reality is, all of us who know Portsmouth and who know the swamp area, this place was a dump. That's where people were dumping rubbish for centuries. And as a matter of fact, where we're going to put the marina, we had approved, and you, sorry, not me first, Dame Eugenia Charles first had approved for the Americans to build a marine base for the police there. And we adopted it. And we even had a groundbreaking there for the marina. The American ambassador came down there, we went there and so on. Unfortunately, we had to relocate it and we told them, let's put it towards the Cabaret area. And so since 1968, and I just find that in Dominica, my brother, that sometimes people say they want development, and when it starts happening, then they say it shouldn't happen. So every government tried to build an international airport. Now we hear people who say, well, why do we need an international airport? And why do we want it now? Why don't we wait till 2030, 2035, 2040? Why should we wait? The young person who waiting for an opportunity doesn't have the time to wait. The farmer who wants to increase his sale doesn't have tomorrow to wait. The small business owner who is planting flowers in the valleys and bells don't have tomorrow to wait. And if we have an opportunity to do these things now, why should we do it now? When it has eluded us for several decades. And I say to people, don't look at me, the one leading the charge of doing it. It's not about me. It's about the country. It so happened to be that I'm the Prime Minister of the country advancing these projects. But it's not about me. I believe, and we all believe in Dominica, that these things will help the continued transformation of the country. And so, if they have concerns, we're more than willing to sit down with them and to hear their concerns and so forth. But this is a 1968 recommendation. It was not 2024 recommendation. And I do not believe that there's any government in the history of Dominica outside of Liberal government who has taken due recognition and cognizance of the environment and us in this government. None. And for me personally, nobody can tell me about my commitment to the environment. I practice it. I don't talk about it, I practice it on a daily basis. And so we're very mindful of that. Very, very mindful of that. Yes, Matt, please.
My final question.
Yeah, please, thank you.
A recommendation was made earlier this year by the International Monetary Fund to reduce the NEP wage bill by 33%, or $16.7 million.
Yeah.
How do you intend to address that?
That's the IMF, that's not me speaking. That's the IMF speaking, that's not me. The reality is, the NEP, National Employment Program.
But that's a recommendation coming to you.
They're free to recommend whatever they want to me. Yeah. But I'm not obliged to accept it. And I want to say to Dominican people that the NEP is playing a crucial role in the advancement of the country. I mean, and there are different components to it. The NEP people who provide care to the senior citizens of Dominica. There are any people who provide afternoon classes to a lot of the children who are slow learners. And the NEP people provide beautification and cleaning services to the entire country. And that's a very, if you ask me, the beautification and cleaning of Dominica is one of the most important tasks. Most important tasks. And I will be the first to accept, and we've started that process, of examining the NEP with a view to improving its efficiency. And I believe through efficiency, we can reduce on the cost of the NEP, but not necessarily reducing on the NEP in any significant way. The NEP, as long as this government is in office, is there to stay, because it is playing a crucial role in the society. So we're not going to touch it as a policy position of the government. We will continue to examine it and improve it, because one of the and what we have said to the minister for the NEP and the cabinet subcommittee that has been appointed is for us to go back to the original mandate of the NEP, because one of the original mandates of the NEP was that especially those who are on the job attachment, you really should be showing efforts at seeking employment, permanent employment. Then you also have situations where people are working in private sector entities for many years and have not been appointed in those organizations. And therefore, we're going to be having a conversation with a lot of the private sector entities to say, yo, I mean, this person has been there for 9 years. Why haven't you absorbed the person as a permanent staff? So these are the kind of things that we're looking at. But in terms as a policy framework and so on, I don't believe in taking a knife and passing a hot knife and passing through the NEP and just cutting it indiscriminately.
So are you brushing aside the recommendation to the IMF?
I'm not brushing aside. The IMF is free to recommend to me what they feel to recommend. The IMF doesn't live in Dominica. I live among the people. And I know how important the NEP is to many families in Dominica. And I know what it means to those who are employed, and I also know what it means to those who are receiving the services by those who are employed on the NEP. And it is significant. And so the IMF is in Washington. I walk the streets of Dominica. And so while I have great relationship with them, I have great respect for them, not everything they say to me I accept. They look at things, and find it me, they look at things from a fiscal standpoint, a dollar and cents standpoint. I look at human beings standpoint. A government must have a heart and not only concerned about fiscal stuff. Fiscal stuff is important, and we've been very responsible, as you can see. We've been very responsible government, but we also must be responsive. And a time when cost of living has gone up for people, this is not a time for us to send anybody home. We have to hold this train and do what we have to do. Cut on things that we don't need, like telephone use, overseas travel, and these things I'm going to cut on dramatically, so that the monies can be saved and those can go into paying who we paid in Dominica. And so I'm going to cut travel for government officials by 70%. 70%. Yeah.
Take note of that.
Yeah.
Yes. Prime Minister, can you tell us when construction of a geothermal energy plant will begin? And once in operation, do we get the impression that electricity rates for Dominican consumers will be slashed? So that's the first question. The long-standing issue between the Dominica Air and Seaport Authority and stevedores, that long-standing matter has been around, and I know you have spoken on it. I know, in fact, you have met the stevedores a few weeks ago. Can that matter be addressed sometime this year?
Yes, sir.
And can you at least tell us what the government is doing now in terms of visa-free access to the United Kingdom? Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. The issue of the geothermal, I've got a report there. We have received on Ireland the first batch of power plant components, and that was transported to the site on July 10th. Okay. The commencement of power plant civil works is expected this month, July 2024. We intend to award the contract for the transmission network between the months of July and August of this year. They've gone through the tender, they've received the tender documents, they've gone through it, and they're in a position now to award a contract, and that will be done July, August this year. And the projected commissioning of the power plant, we're looking at December 2025. The reality is this is why we've been investing, and I'll be the first to admit that we spend an inordinate amount of money. And if you ask me, plenty money on this geothermal project over the last 20-something years. But we have been committed to it because we have been advised and we're satisfied that it can help reduce the cost of electricity in Dominica. Because it will not be subjected to inflation by way of importation of fossil fuels and the uncertainty of supply and the cost of supply. And so this is why we remain committed to the geothermal plant, and we are happy that we are seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. And so in the next years and some months that we can start benefiting from this long-standing investment that we've made. It has been costly. I mean, as you know, we borrowed money from the World Bank in the tune of $104 million for the transmission lines. That's just one component, so it's a significant investment. And so our hope and prayer is that we can successfully complete the implementation of that project, and that Dominicans can see the benefits of this investment by way of reduced electricity bills, both for the consumers and for the private sector entities. And those persons who run private businesses know of the cost. If you have a supermarket and you have to run this cold storage 24/7, and it's a significant cost. And if you have a hotel, and then when people go in a hotel room, they leave the doors wide open and the AC still on. And you understand the cost of that. It's a huge cost. Energy is a major cost affecting everybody, both domestic consumers and of course commercial consumers. And our effort is to harness and to maximize the use of renewable sources of energy to generate electricity for us in Dominica. So we look forward to December 2025 during the commissioning. I think you asked me about the airport and whether seaport workers, stevedores.
Visa-free access to the
Yeah.
UK.
So
The stevedores.
the stevedores. I'm satisfied that we will conclude this matter way before the end of the year. And I am satisfied that the stevedores will be happy at the end of the day that finally this matter has come to a close. And I have inserted myself in the process, and I will give certain directions at the appropriate time on that. The issue of visa freeze, we continue to work with the British government. We received a letter from the last Minister of Home Affairs, Mr. Cleverly, on this, and it was a very positive letter. There's one outstanding ongoing matter that we have to bring to some conclusion, and we're working on that. There's been some pushback from a legal standpoint, but I believe that we're going to be pushing a little hard on it. We'll be writing to the new minister to update her on what we have done and what we're doing, and to respond to the letter of her predecessor on this matter. So I believe that all things considered and the tone of the engagement with the UK government that we've had over the last several months, I'm satisfied at some point we will be able to see visa-free travel to the United Kingdom. And of course, some of the additional actions, which are not actions that they ask us for, or anybody has asked us for, but we should believe are important for the sustainability and the improvement of the transparency of the program that we are doing by ourselves. We believe that those actions will place us even a stronger position to make a case for the reintroduction of visa-free regime between Dominica and the United Kingdom. So we remain hopeful, and we continue to engage the UK government in a respectful, transparent manner.
Okay, the people of Portsmouth, they want to know the street lights on the coast in terms of replacing it, and also on the eastern area, northeastern area. They want to know what is the update on work on the netball facility in Portsmouth, and the link road, Petit Savane, etc. Can you give us an update as to where government is at this point in time? I'm the pilot now for Portsmouth, so I asking questions.
Yeah. I am sure if they asked the parliament, she would be able to give them all the response to this, because she's been spearheading the indoor facility. So we have approved for the indoor facility for Portsmouth that would have an indoor basketball court and also a multi-purpose court, have it covered and so forth. And it was also been built at Benjamin's Park. But when we started to dig and to do the soil test, we recognized that the Port Benjamin was still very waterlogged. As you know, Portsmouth is below sea level. And we had to look for a new location for the construction of that facility. You would have seen that we built some tennis courts there already. But the indoor facility, which is a huge facility, the size of what you see in Massac, but in a more modern style, we have found a new location, we've acquired the lands, and then we have given the contractor the go-ahead to commence. So I believe that work should commence in the next week or so on this indoor facility for Portsmouth. With regards to the street lights, you know, I mean, we spent millions of dollars to put street lights across Dominica. And the reality is, if you go to the United States of America, you don't see any street lights in any rural communities, you know. But in Dominica, you have street lights in rural communities, the furthest point in Dominica. And we place street lights along the entire length and breadth of the west coast of Dominica. And a significant number of them have been stolen. And you know why they steal them, Calais? You know, guys are planting marijuana. And the grade of marijuana they have require some heat and some light. And so they, no, I have not told them to plant. No, I never tell them that. You mustn't say, you mustn't be repeat gossip, you know, kind of like, I tell them, but they repeat gossip. And so people are still in the street lights for that, the solar components. And I mean, so millions of dollars have gone to waste. It was such a beauty to see all the street lights along the west coast and across Dominica, you know, and the bases that you see cost a lot of money. I mean, when I told the contractors to come to me as Minister of Finance, $450,000 there, $800,000 there to a contractor to put those bases, you know. So it is a huge cost, and all of these things, you know. Then you have to now find monies now to replace those, and now monies that you should be doing some other things in the communities, you know. So these are the kind of practices that we have to deal with. So we spend millions to purchase the street lights, millions of dollars to purchase the street lights. We spend millions to erect them because they're not cheap to erect. You understand? And then we have to find millions now to replace them because of vandalism and theft. Courtesy, your final question. I must give courtesy. The road, Petit Savane. Well, you know, the people of Dalis told me, and they told the PAL rep, Dr. Williams, who is here with me today, that if she does that road for them, that if she put that bridge for them, that's it. There's nothing else Dalis needs whatsoever in the rest of the term. They say, PAL rep, you do that, you'll be the best PAL rep Dalis will have ever seen in our history, both pre and post-independence. And this PAL rep joined forces with the PAL rep for Petit Savane. Right? The fisheries expert. And these people will come to my office every other day, advocating and pushing and pushing. And I can say that they have done a fantastic job as PAL reps in advocating on this matter. And what we did is we have these Bailey bridges from
The East Coast Road will belong to the government. And Mr. Gadakan Company agreed to erect it for us at no cost to him, no cost to us. Okay, and so they joined forces with us, and the bridge is near completion. We will do the approaches, the concrete on both ends, and the main structure of the bridge is up. I'm hoping to visit there with the PAL rep soon. But I can say that these two PAL reps have been on top of the action on a daily basis. So they have kept their promise, because they should play the PAL rep's speech at a luncheon
And I'm hoping that they will play theirs now of the promise they made to her. And they keep their promise of re-electing Dr. Williams as the unopposed PAL rep whenever elections are called, because she has kept to her promise of connecting this road. Because I went there many times. He says, if we do that, I tell him, what about housing? I'm scared of housing. Don't worry about housing. I tell him, what about the farm access road? Tell me, scared, that come later. I said, well, what about housing lands? They say, no, we're interested in that. Bridge. If you give us that connection there, Skerrit, then all problems solved. We have to come back with the list and campaign and so on. So I look forward to that. I look forward to that. What a wonderful way to end the press conference. Good is. Okay, you have a question.
Yeah, Prime Minister, you've said that the absence of an opposition leader in Parliament is not a crisis. But the question is, how do we resolve that matter to ensure that Dominica has a leader of the opposition?
Yeah. I hear people talk about it, we have a constitutional crisis. To me, a constitutional crisis only comes about if you don't have a prime minister and you don't have a president. I mean, the leader of the opposition has some limited functions in the constitution, where the prime minister is required to consult with the leader of the opposition. Outside of that, there are no executive roles of the leader of the opposition. All of the others are parliamentary roles. Outside of the consultation to appoint the chief of police, or the chairperson of the Police and Public Service Commission, and a couple of members of the commission, and electoral and all others and so on. There's not really any other matters really, executive roles. So we don't have a crisis. If you recall, Curtis, after the 2009 general elections, we had no leader of the opposition for several months because Mr. Prevost was not prepared to support Mr. Edison James as leader of the opposition. And this is why they ended up with the compromise candidate of Hector Sparks John. That's how Hector became the PAL rep, the leader of the opposition, because Mr. James and Mr. Prevost were not seeing eye to eye. And so Mr. James refused, Mr. Prevost refused to give his support to Mr. James. And so Mr. James, avoiding embarrassment, did not want to pursue because Hector was supporting Mr. James. But Mr. James did not want to go and with 2 people out of 3 supporting him, himself and Hector. And so they came to a compromise of having Hector John as the leader of the opposition, but for several months. And so there being no leader of the opposition, when I would have advised Dr. Liverpool, who was the president at the time, I would say that I'm unable to consult with the leader of the opposition because there is none. And the president was obligated to proceed with my advice, you understand, in the absence of leader of the opposition. And the same will happen. The reality is, managing governments and being in a leadership position and managing political processes is a very challenging thing. It's not easy because you deal with so many different personalities, so many different interests. And this is a manifest in itself. And this is symptomatic of the Workers' Party. This is why you now have different factions there, where Mr. Linton is trying to disqualify Mr. Thompson Fountain from being a candidate, because he's saying if you live in overseas, you cannot vote in Dominica. And if Mr. Thompson Fountain, Dr. Fountain cannot vote in Dominica, then how can he be the leader of the Workers' Party? You know what I'm saying? So all of this machination. So you have different factions in the party, and so as I understand, there was an agreement between the 2 of them, and it fell apart. It's unfortunate because it's always good to have a leader of the opposition, And this is why I said I am minded to give consideration to the member for Marigot, equal time that the Minister of Finance will take to respond, so that we have more contribution from the opposition side of the House as part of the debate.
Why not just Paul?
Because she had 2 bites of the cherry already. And then by now it should have been the Marigot guy. You understand? And so we'll see how it goes in 26. But
Have you already made that offer to him?
no, I don't have to make the offer to him. We'll just present it in Parliament, and if he accepts, he will speak for equal time. If he doesn't, then he'll speak for half an hour. But if he has more than half an hour of things to say, then he might take the time. I don't know. But you see, politics is serious business, eh? And these things happen when sometimes people don't come into this thing for the right reason. You come to serve, and serving is difficult. This is a vocation. A vocation. This is a job you get trained nowhere for. And you have to have the empathetic spirit entrenched in you. Otherwise you'll have problems. But if they allow me, I can sit with them and see how I can negotiate with them to solve the problem. The other, so I don't know. I'm offering my services to them in conflict resolution. And but it's not going to affect the government functions. And you see, I said, within the Workers' Party, there's some talent, people who support the Workers' Party. There's some talent, there's some bright people there, there's some people who mean well.
Can you name names?
I don't it's not necessary to name names. But the problem they have in the Workers' Party is that these people are not using their skills and their talents, right, to advise people, advise themselves. They advise them from a vantage point of hate and envy. This is why, no matter when elections are called, the Workers' Party will lose, because they do not have the entrenched ability to properly advise themselves. And so they have allowed so many of their kind supporters' investments to go to waste. You understand? When you're in this thing, you have to understand, it's not about you, it's about the people who have invested their time and their resources and their efforts and the sacrifice into this thing. And you have to do everything possible to ensure that you at least give them some hope and confidence.
Continue to talk briefly about the snap election, is that possible?
Snap? No. I mean, I am, I hear the reasons why, I hear the reasons why people say there might be a snap election. They say, boy, so what's happening in Dominica? All these projects, they've never seen that before. Well, you see how Skerrit there, boy, and all these projects, and Skerrit met the port workers, he met the nurses, he met with the police, and he met with the medical doctors at the hospital, and and something up. With all of these projects happening, unprecedented. See, something up. Fellas, let's get ready, boys. Don't trust Skerrit on that. If you Skerrit do it in 2022, you can do it again. But we have work to do. We are focusing on the governance of the country and delivering to the people, and focusing on the big ticket items, which we believe will help transform the way of life of all our people in Dominica. And I am satisfied that if we can get, by the grace of God, this huge project in, it will certainly place us in a much better position to compete and to do better than we're doing, and to give hope, greater hope and confidence to the current and succeeding generations of Dominicans. And that's our commitment, that's my focus now. So I'm not in the campaign spirit now. I'm in the spirit of governance and delivering, and addressing whatever structural or systemic challenges that we have currently. And we're confident that we can resolve those issues. And the minister will articulate in the budget a plan to amortize our debt to everybody who we owe for goods and services to the country and so on in his budget address. So thank you very much, and God bless our country. Yes.